boys, you already know it's card of the week time, where we're going to talk about an old favorite, a card that's been around since the very first set, that of course is, Blue Eyes White Dragon. We're talking about that boy today. We're going to go over, the rise and fall of Mr. Blue Eyes White Dragon, and what I feel is the importance of supporting these older normal monsters sort of things, like from the first two series. So we'll get right into it. Blue Eyes should need no introduction, but in case you didn't know, he's a dragon, light, normal monster, level 8, 3000 attack, 2500 defense, and his vanilla text is this legendary dragon is a powerful engine of destruction. Virtually invincible, very few have faced this awesome creature and have lived to tell the tale. So, Blue Eyes, he's been around since the first set. The first set is named after him, for God's sake. The legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. He has been around in the meta off and on since 2002. I mean, the very first meta, Yugi Kaiba format, there was Summon Sculpey, and there was Blue Eyes with the Lord of D, Flute Summoning, the meme, the meme. And he's always had just that peak performance. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, he's always been like the par for what a boss monster should be. If you talk to someone who hasn't seen Yu-Gi-Oh in the fucking 15 years since it was popular mainstream, they'll definitely be able to say, oh, I know Blue Eyes White Dragon. I remember that. It's probably the most well-known card in the entire game besides Exodia. So, the history of him starts in 2002, and then as the game evolves, he becomes less and less popular because normal monsters just end up sucking ass because they're fucking normal monsters. And then you get into the early 2010s, like 2010, 2011, and you start seeing builds with Disaster Dragons. They could pop a few of him in there. Trade-in started to exist in a meta kind of sense. Whitestone of Legend came out in Crossroads of Chaos, which gave him that little bit of boost to search, add him, trade in. Silver's Cry eventually came out, stuff like that. Chaos could play him. Hopeless Blue Eyes was a thing for a while. So, stuff like that. And then he faded away again as the game continued to evolve into the Exceed format. He was usable. He was technically usable during Heradic format if you really wanted to. And then the Heradic build, because you just summon him from deck, sort of mean, with a Tum. If you really felt like it, and you could make Thunder End Dragon and do that shit. But he's disappeared until 2016 with Shining Victories, and he got a huge wave of support, and they ended up winning Worlds that year. So, this card from the very first set got good enough support. This vanilla normal monster. They made him good enough to win Worlds. And it's a damn shame they couldn't do the same thing to Dark Magician and Red Eyes. Both of them had their place. Dark Magician is more beginner friendly, I feel like, even though it's the most expensive of the three. Or it was, because $60 circles and $40 navigations were pretty cool, dude. And $100 Apprentice Illusion Magicians. I don't know why why it was so expensive for a deck that never went anywhere. I feel like if the game can get just a little bit slower, Dark Magician can take a spot. It can take a hold on something. If it gets a little bit more support, something to help play during your opponent's turn like it wants to, even on the first turn, if they get a good hand trap sort of thing, and that summons one from deck, and then you can change shit from your hand, kind of like a magical musket, I feel like they can get a decent enough place. Maybe be a tier 2 rogue, high tier 2, because right now they're down there, they're just groveling. Red Eyes has been in and out, since it came out in Clash of Rebellions, I want to say. Clash of Rebellions, or not Crossroads of Chaos. Dimensions of Chaos around that time, when Flare Metal came out. Clash of Rebellions. Flare Metal, you started getting the meteors, the Red Eye Comet, all that junk. But Red Eyes never really went anywhere, and it was also stupid expensive. And it ended up just turning into an FTK deck. Oh, Joey takes the easy way out, of course. But I think it's a very smart business decision for Konami to go back and support these older normal monsters. And you're seeing that coming up in Savage Strike with Neos. That could bring a lot of old people back into the game. Like, if you have a friend, if you're, like, big into the game, you know, you're following everything, and you got these friends who, like, they watched the show back in the day, they got up to GX, and they're like, yeah, I like Jaden, he was cool, I liked his monster, and be like, well, he's getting support. You know, maybe that would tick in their head, like, maybe I should check that out. You know, I like that guy, I like the Neos card, I could look at that stuff, maybe I could play it. You know, maybe I could get into this game with this guy, sort of thing. And it's very smart. I think it's very good for the game, too. You know, I have a very love-hate relationship with Legacy support. I hate that they just push out so much shit Legacy support, but when they print good ones, like Battery Man Solar, even though he's shit for Battery Man, but he's great in general. Same thing. And then you get, what's the other one? The one that came out in, like, Code of the Duelist. 9-Volt? 9-Volt is great for Battery Man. He's an amazing card. But then you print... What's the ones I'm thinking of? You print shitty support. Like... like Sistart. You make Sistart, you know, the Madolche Link 2, that should, do something to help advance their game state. It locks you out of doing one of their combos for playing it. And, you know, that's not as far back Legacy support as something like fucking Battery Man. Dark Neostorm, you got the Cloudian coming out. That card is really fucking good. Like, that card is actually insanely good for Cloudians. It doesn't make Cloudians tier 0 or anything like that. It doesn't even make them tier 2. But it makes them playable, you know, and it gives them a little boost. You can bring out Eye of the Typhoon from deck. You don't have to, you know, they made this card that was once unplayable playable. And stuff like that. Like, they need to... Sometimes they just shit out so much terrible Legacy support that it just feels like, why bother? They just throw it in there to get that nostalgia cash grab, but then they print something, you know, they print something like the Blue Eyes support. Or... Also coming up, what was the one I was just thinking of? You get the Charmer Link, who is good enough Infernoids, apparently. It's a decent card. It's not the best, but it's a decent card. And then, you know, sometimes you get a Sistart. And I would really rather it not be like that for anything, you know. Link Vrains 1, all of that support. There was only a handful of good cards, I feel like. The Glad Beast was okay, but then, you know, you get Sistart, you get... The Heradic is average, you get Crowley, who doesn't really... Honestly, he doesn't really help out the Prophecy playstyle very much. But then you get, like, the Needle Fibers and the Cherubinis, and it's like, whoa, that Legacy support's kind of cool. You know, pretty cool stuff. You get Jasmines. And I feel like they saw what they did with Link Vrains 1, and they're like, you know what, we put out a subpar product for the most part, let's do it better. And they did Link Vrains 2, and I feel like every single card in Link Vrains 2 is good. It has a purpose in the deck, it helps the decks out. The weakest ones would maybe be, honestly, Parshath, and maybe the Dark Lord, and the Alien. Those three are probably the weakest to me. But it's been a while since I've read them. But I know the Parshath is definitely, honestly, is pretty weak for what it does. It should have done something to help out the counter trap playstyle more than just searching for, like, Parshath cards and Sanctuary in the Sky. But it is a Link 3 that can, like, you know, do meme stuff. So it's not the worst, but it's not the best. I feel like they hit the nail on the head with the Rebirth of Parshath and the counter fairy structure. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about normal monsters. We were talking about normal monsters. We're talking about Neos. So, you know, Neos is getting a support soon. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully something good can come out of it. Don't ban Neospace Connector. It's fucking stupid. You're an idiot if you think it needs to be banned. But then you also gotta think about what other normal monsters can be supported. They supported Ojamas out throughout the years. These level 2 shit monsters. You know. Why? And then they get their Link monster. The Ojama Link's actually pretty decent. And you can make the Ojama ABC build, you can make the Ojama XYZ, or WXYZ, you know, whatever. Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon and just say fuck it to your opponent and they can't do anything. That card's very mean. And it's a good thing that they made it the way it was, because if it was any different, it would be just ridiculous. But I'm gonna digress about that. What normal support should we bring out in the future? You know, you gotta look to the past here. What normal monsters could be supported even more? I do feel like Dark Magician is in line for more support. Red Eyes has had a good run. All three of them should get a Link monster: Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, and Dark Magician. But I want to see more like OG, just regular ass normal monster support. Like, they've retrained Celtic Guardian a few times as an effect monster. Summon Skull, they tried. I can tell they tried, but it doesn't work very well. As you know, we could get like rechange of like Neo the Magic Swordsman. I feel like if they really tried, they could throw together like all of a character's old classic normal monsters into an archetype. Like, they could throw in make it part of the Dark Magician archetype, and throw in like a Feral Imp and Beaver Warrior support for those guys. Stuff like that. You know, Joey could get a Swordsman of Landstar retrain, like he got a Gearfried retrain for Red Eyes. You know, something like that. Even though Swordsman of Landstar technically does have a retrain, if I remember correctly. There's like a tuner or some shit. Something like that. But, you know, other ones. Harpy's got their support. That's a good one, actually. That's a good one I didn't think of. Harpy support. Harpy was big in 2013, 2014. That shit was huge. And, you know, it all started from Harpy Lady. And it just grew into, you know, you got this Phantasmal, they even supported the OG shit like Pet Dragon. Pet Dragon got support. Sisters was supported in that set. So Sisters just got more support, you know, coming up. But, you know, you look back to Season 1 of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you get those old ritual monsters. Fortress Whale could get more support. They supported the Moth line, Perfectly Ultimate, all that Weevil support. The Rex Raptor support should come. We need a two-headed King Rex retrain. You know, the insect support was good, but it's not really normal monster support. The new insect support is insect normal monster support, and I really enjoy that. The Gokipons and you know, the Shining Ranger Black Sea, if we ever get that motherfucker. I hope we do. I want to play those cards. They're hilarious. But going back to what I said, the Ritual Monster, the Fortress Whale should get support. We should get an effect version of Fortress Whale, and there should be an archetype supporting the Fortress Whale. I feel like that would be hilarious and could bring people back, because, you know, Mako was a memorable character in the show. Mako was a very memorable character, and if they supported Fortress Whale, I would cry. You know, I count Ritual Monsters without effects as normal monsters. It's the same shit. Alright, anyways, guys, I'm starting to ramble here, so we're just gonna cut it now. I think this is one of the best episodes I've ever done, if I'm gonna toot my own horn. So be sure to like, subscribe, check out Sora Online on TCGPlayer. We got a lot of stuff on there. We're adding more, you know, every week or so. We're going through our shit, just throwing more on the shop. If you see something you like, you hit us up. A binder just dropped off of my bed, and it was kind of scary. You know, if you buy stuff from the shop, it helps us out. We don't have ads right now, you know. We're still little guys, so that kind of support really helps us out. Like, subscribe, Slide for Does Forever. We'll be seeing you. Peace.